Yes, det ser ud til, at den er live nu.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, testing sound.
Yes, det lyder fint. Det er bare i orden.
Cool, testing sound. Hello. We're starting in just a minute. Just have some small things I need to fix. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Do let me know, or if you can't hear me, right in the chat. Awesome. Sound is working. Let's see if we can get a good camera angle here. There we go. And get this out of the way. And long hair. Pull back. Let's go. And you guys are right there. Great. As you can see on my screen here, this is the game that we worked on the last time. This is a clicker game, meaning that we are just clicking one simple thing in the game. That's the idea. And then we will get some points and we can make some upgrades that makes it faster to get points throughout the game. Last time, and let me just show you, we made the balloon spawn smaller balloons whenever you click the first one here. So let's see if we start the game. As you can see, and my balloon currently is spawning like 10 balloons at a time, and you can make it go crazy like this. Today we will make some few fixes to how the game works, and we will try and add an upgrade that we can buy in the game. So let's say we click our balloon 50 times, we can then buy an upgrade that will make us get 2 points each time we click it. And for this we will also be working with the variables today, meaning, and I will explain more in detail what that is and how we're gonna use it. So we also used the variables a bit last time, but I'll go into more details today, how and why variables are so important. You're gonna hear that a lot, so hopefully you'll remember it. So stopping the game here so we don't have it running while we are doing some coding. The code I have right here, and if you have the same, you should have the balloon on the right here marked. This should be our balloon code and the only code that we actually have, because it's a very simple game. Here we have in the middle section, this is where we count how many times we have clicked the object, our balloon in this sense. If we just read it, is the first block here is just whenever the game starts. That's important, but we know what this does. The important part is down here in the center of it, where if the mouse, the one I'm moving around, is down on this clone, let's see, we change the number by 1, and we also change the costumes. This is why you see the balloon changing color. You might have chosen a different object than a balloon, but that's totally fine. If you wanted to have a cake or banana, that's also cool. You choose the object that you want to click on. But we're gonna change this whole section, so I'm gonna move it a bit to the right, and I'm gonna add some blocks of code next to it so you can see in comparison how we're gonna change from one thing into another. And this is the code for clicking the balloon and adding points to us. So let's see. Here we have the green one. Whenever the game starts, we're actually gonna change this already into a block that reads when we click something, some code will be running. And we find it here if you go to events, the yellow ones. And it should be the third one from the top. If you drag this in, you can see this block. This is a starting block because we can't add something above it. This reads when this sprite clicked. And sprite is an image, or in this case, it's our balloon. When we click this balloon, we will change the number into, or we will add 1 to our number. And so we're gonna make this whole block of code a lot more simple and easier to use. So the only thing we actually need to add here is actually the one down here where it says change number, and our number is a variable that we created last time, which is a number that we can change throughout the game. And you can also see it here in the game screen where we have the number written already. So we're gonna find this variable block one more time. That should be on the left in the orange color. You should have one saying number here. If it says my variable or something else, try and click the text, and you should have the option to choose the correct one. In my case, I called it number, so I'm gonna select the one saying change number, because we want to change it into a bigger number. If you take the one above here, which says I'm gonna set the number to something, this will make it so we always set the number to, let's say, 1. So we can never go higher than the number 1. So make sure that you pick the correct block here saying change. I'm gonna remove this one so we don't use it accidentally. So to test this even now, I'm gonna disable the code here on the right that I have by just detaching it from the green flag like this. So now that code will not be running. It's just there, but it won't be running while we are testing the game. Oh, the lighting on the camera is very bad. Hopefully you can still see me, but the important part is on the main screen here. So let's see, testing the game, and when I click on the flag, you can see the number here is going up each time I click it. And also notice that whenever I click the balloon here, you can see this code block here is lighting up just for a split second. That means the code is activating whenever we are clicking the balloon, which is good. This is what we wanted. So, and if I click anywhere else on the game screen, you can see it doesn't add anything to the number. So it only works whenever we click the actual balloon, and this is what the game is about. How much you can click this one balloon and do other kinds of cool stuff. So, but we still want to add the cool stuff with spawning smaller balloons whenever we click it. So we want that kind of animation that we also made last time So we're gonna continue on our block of code here on the left. So I'm gonna keep this detached from the green flag, but I'm gonna keep it here so you can see the difference that we are making this time. So let's see here. So we wanted to add a clone, and we actually have one here. So if we look at the code we made last time, you can see we have this one block already added. We just have to use some of the same blocks that we have here. You can see right above it we have a block that says create clone of myself, and myself is the balloon. I'm not a balloon, but it's in the game. So to find this, where we are cloning our balloon, you find that in, I think it's control. Yeah, it should be in control, the orange one. And if you scroll down just a bit, it should be somewhere at the bottom where it says create clone of myself. So we're creating a clone of the balloon, and then we can add that to the block over here. And let's quickly try and test it. And it seems to be working. Pretty cool. So you see this piece of code on the left here, compared to what we made last time, is a lot more simple and easier to understand. So we made some, even though it worked what we made last time, there are different ways of getting the same result in coding, which is, I think, is pretty cool. And now we learned that we can actually make it a lot more simple and an easier way to actually use these blocks of code. So we're gonna continue with the same, with the piece of code that we have here on the left. And now I'm actually gonna delete what I had from last time, because since we're not using that anymore, we don't want it to stay there. We want to clean up the code so we don't have some code that we are not using. So to remove it, simply drag it all the way to the left, and it's gone, and you can't get it back. So make sure that you have the same code as I do here. Then you should still be having a working game. So moving this up a bit. We also had last time that it would change color, or it would change costume each time we were clicking the balloon. We can easily add this if you want that kind of cool animation. You can simply go into the purple blocks called looks and find the one called next costume. We used this last time as well. So if you add that below our new code here and test the game one more time, you can see it changes like it did last time, but it's actually working a lot better this time. And you can see the number keeps going higher and higher. But I actually liked it without changing the color. I want it to stay the same. I want to use the costumes for a different thing. I want to use the different colors of the balloon to show the player how far they are in the game. So let's say they reach 100 points, then they get to the next color of balloon. If they reach to 1,000, they get to the next color. That way I can show them how far they are in the game. So I think I'm gonna use the costume for that. So I will be removing this one again. So I want to start with the blue color of the balloon. Sorry about that. And if you noticed here, when I start the game here on the green flag, this is our start and stop button. We stay at the same number, but we actually want to reset. We want to go back to 0 whenever we start the game. Because otherwise people would just be able to continue the game for as far as possible and not be able to see how far you could get in a certain amount of time, kind of thing. There is an easy way to reset the game whenever you start the game. let's see, we can actually do it up here in the first block of code that we have. We have a green flag, and right after the green flag, we have to set the number to 0, or to the starting number, but I think 0 is our starting number. So if we go back to since we're changing the variable number, we have to go into the variable blocks here in orange again. This time, as I mentioned before, we want to set the number to something. We don't want to change it by 1, but we want to set it to a number. So that means I'm gonna change the number from 200 into a 0. So take the first one now, add that right after the green flag, and then have it to be 0. If I quickly test the game now, you should see the number now going down to 0, and it did. And when I press the balloon, like I'm playing the game, you can see it goes upwards. If I stop the game and then start it one more time, you can see it goes back to 0. So whenever we start the game now, it will always go back to the starting position of the number 0. And you could also have it to start at, let's say, 50 or 100 if you want that to be your starting point. And you just simply have to change the number right here to, let's say, 10. And test the game. And you can see now we start at the number 10. So we have the game in order. We can get some points. Now let's see if we can spend some points. See if we can get some upgrades. Because currently we are just getting 1 point per click on the balloon. I want to make an upgrade where you get 2 clicks per balloon. But you would have to reach, let's say, the number 50 before you could get the upgrade. We can make that into any number, but I think 50 is a good point to get at. So let's see if we can make an upgrade together. Let's see how we're gonna go about that. So with the number, we should be able to reach 50, and then after getting to 50, we will basically buy an upgrade in the game. So I need another object that can be the thing that I buy. So I'm gonna go into the sprite area down on the bottom right. Let's see what we can find here. So I think I'm gonna go with bananas. You can choose any icon that you want. The icon is not so important, so you can choose whichever icon that you want. I'm gonna go with the bananas. And you can see when I click the bananas, it's already in the game. So I want my shop to be at the bottom of the game. So I'm gonna have bananas here on the left, and then as we add more upgrades, I'll add them next to the bananas. So I'm gonna start with having them at the bottom right here. So and then we should add a click effect. So we should be able to click the bananas whenever we reach 50 points. And to make this easier for us to quickly test, I'm gonna have the game start at 50 points. That way we don't have to click it 50 times each time we start the game to actually test it. So going back to the balloon, if you find that, and change the number as it showed before to 50, or not 500 but 50. Let's test the game to see. Okay, it goes up to 50. Good. So we should add an upgrade. Let's see. Here we will. So in here we are changing this number by 1. So we need to change this number to 2. And the way we would do this is we need to create another variable, like I mentioned in the beginning, that holds the number of how many points are we getting. Let's see. So if you find the variables here on the left, and then at the very top, you can click the make a variable button. So in here, we're gonna create a new one and we're gonna give it a name. I suggest that you choose the same name as I do. That way you will have an easier time to follow. But you could actually give it any name that you would like. But we would like to give it some name that makes sense. So I'm gonna make this variable called counter. So, and you can even go capital in the beginning if you like. And we're gonna make it for all sprites. Make sure that you don't choose for this sprite only, but for all sprites. Then press OK. You should now have here in the game 2 variables showing a number and a counter. So the number is basically our high score or our point system. And what the counter will be is how fast we are gaining these points. And currently we are getting 1 or 0 for each click. But we want this to be a default of 1 to begin with. So I'm actually gonna add another green flag here on the left. So go into events and find the green flag here. This will act as a reset of the game. Whenever we start the game, it's gonna set our variables to certain values. It's gonna put certain values into the variables here. So let's see, if you go back to variables and this time get another one of this set. As you can see, it already changed into set counter to 0. And I'm actually gonna move my other one here saying number over to the new green flag. We could also have these 2 new blocks here over here like this. But I like to split up the code so we have them split up so it's easier to read instead of just having one piece of code. So moving this over here like this. Now you should have 2 blocks, one saying set counter and the other one set number. And we're gonna set counter to 1 because this is how many points we get per click in the beginning. But we are not using the counter yet. As you can see down here, this is the block of code that is giving us points. You can see it's still set to 1. And if I were to set my counter over here to give me 5 points, you can see the number here is still 1. So to use this new counter that we have made, we have to go over to variables, and then at the very top here you should find a block just saying counter. And you can actually take this out and then put it into the click block down here. So now you should have a block that says change number by counter. And if we test the game, you can see I start at 50 because I set the number to be 50 and my counter is 1. And my game should still be working by getting 1 point per click. And it does. This is good. This is very good. We're making progress. So I'm stopping the game. Now we have a counter that we can change with our code. And we want to change the counter whenever we click the banana. So let's see if we can make that. So going into my banana, if you chose the cake or the apple or a person, you would have to click that. But in my case, I have bananas that I will be clicking. So like we added in the beginning, we added on our balloon. I'm just quickly going to show you this. When this sprite clicked, we're going to use the same block on our bananas. So to find a block, you have to go into events, the yellow ones, and it's the 3rd from the top. Drag that in here. I'm gonna zoom in so you better can see. Should be able to read that. Great. So when we click this sprite, we're gonna change the counter to a higher number, we're just gonna add 1 to it. And to change our variables, we have to go in and find the set or change variable block. Variables, that becomes very difficult to say over time. Excuse me. Variables here. If you go in here, we have the ones called set or change. In this case, we want to change it. And we can take this one out and attach it to here. So let's see if this works actually. It's not fully finished with adding an upgrade, but this should be working. So we now have a number starting at 50, and we have a counter giving us 1 point per click, and we can see that it's working once per click. If I click the banana, you should now see the counter going up by 1. And it did. So now if I'm clicking the balloon again, I should get 2 points for each click. And it works. So let me quickly click the banana a lot of times so I get like, say 20. So now I get 20 points per click. And now we can get a lot of points very fast. So, but we have an issue with this because we can click the banana from the very start of the game without having the required points for it. So now we're gonna add the point system, or the store basically, so you can buy it with the points that you have earned throughout the game. So let's stop the game. And before I continue, I want to test the game one more time, and you can see all the values go back to the default, which is good, so we can just continue from being too good at the game. But let's see if we can add some point values to the game. So we actually have to be at 50 before we can buy the bananas. So I'm gonna change my number here, set the number to 49. And actually this number doesn't really matter because I could choose any number that I wanted. But I'm gonna go with 59 and then say, okay, when I'm at 50, I'm able to click this banana. So we have to go back into the banana code. In here, we change the counter by 1 each time we click it. But before we change the counter, we have to check if number is equal or higher than a certain number that we put in the game. So let me show you how that works. I'm gonna detach this for now, and we're gonna find the if block. This is where we ask the game a question and then see if that question is correct or wrong. So going into control, this is where we have our questions, or question blocks, I like to call them. We have them right here with the if. This is like a block that can have something inside it. So everything that we put in here will only happen if the question that we put in this blank area is correct. So we're gonna ask the question, is number bigger than 40 or bigger than 50? Then we will be able to click the bananas. Let's see here. So a question, we can add a question in the green ones. So we're gonna compare two numbers, and we need the green blocks for this because all the green blocks are for math, and everything mathematic is the green blocks. And we need the one with the arrows going like this. You can just choose the same block as I do. We are gonna go with the first one here. As you can see the symbol right here in the middle. This is the one where we can see if a number is bigger or lower than another number, basically comparing number 1 to number 50. This will make more sense when we attach it up here, and I'm gonna put in some numbers. We also need to find our variable block called number, like we did with the counter. So if you go into variables here, you'll find our number block. This block of code here holds the number that you see on inside the game 49 at the moment. And this will keep changing depending on the number that we see in the game. We want to attach this to the green one that we found here. And then the number on the right is the number that it should be bigger than before we can do something. And I'm gonna write 49 here. And if I read this out loud, it will now say if our number, which is currently 49, is bigger than 49, or actually I'm gonna say 50 here. If number is bigger than 50, then we will change counter. So to show you this in the game, as you should see now, whenever I click the banana here, you can see the code on the left activates, but it doesn't do anything to my counter. And that's because the question here is wrong. Or it's not wrong, it's not fulfilled. So if I get the number up here higher than 50, if I click the balloon twice, now I'm able to click the banana again. As you can see, now my counter is 2. But we're not done yet. I can still keep clicking the banana now because the number is always higher than 50 now. So we need to add some more math to the game, since we are buying the new upgrade, so we need to subtract the 50 points that it cost. And we can add that in one easy way. In here, we are changing the number. And if it doesn't say number, so we have to find the variable blocks one more time and find the change block. Make sure to change it into saying number instead of counter. And we add that as well inside of this if block. So now you should have one saying change counter and change number. And we want to change number by the amount that the upgrade should cost. So if you want to have your upgrade to cost 10 points, you put in the number -10. Make sure that you put in the minus, like the dash, the small line here in front of the number. This is very important. Otherwise you would just give yourself more points for buying it. That could also be quite fun. So I'm saying that my banana upgrade is costing 50. Like this. So whenever I click the banana, I'm being subtracted 50 points here. So we can actually test this quite fast. So I'm starting at 49 points. I can click, I can buy the upgrade. When I click my balloon twice, meaning that I'm over the 50 points, I can now buy the banana. And you can see my counter is now 2. And the number is down to, it's subtracted with 50 points. But I can now reach 50 way faster than before because I'm getting twice as many points now. So I can go up to 50 one more time, buy another one, and keep going like this. Keep getting further and further in the game, faster and faster. I think since we basically, this is our money that we are buying stuff with, our points, we should have a high score showing the total amount of points that we have actually earned in the game, because this number will keep going lower as we buy more upgrades. So I think we should add a third variable holding the high score in the game. like gathering all the numbers that we have, or all the times that we have clicked the balloon. So we're gonna create another variable, and if you remember, we go into variables and then make a variable, and this time I'm gonna call it high score, like this. And again, make sure that it says for all sprites. It should have the mark over here. Then press OK. You should now have a third number in the game, saying 0, of course. And what we want to do here is we want to set the high score to 0 whenever we start the game, so we can add it here to our balloon code over here on the left, where we added a block of code resetting all the stats, all the numbers whenever we start the game. So I'm gonna set another one of these and change that into high score. So I have set counter, I have set number, and I have set high score. And I also want to change, instead of starting at 49, I now want to start at 0 points. So our high score is currently not not doing anything in the game. If I play the game, you can see it doesn't change or anything. But I want to add all the points that we have earned throughout the game to the high score. Let's see if we can find a way to do this. And here we have, this is whenever we click the balloon. And we actually want to make the same block of code that we did, or that we have with the number. So I think we can just, instead of finding the blocks again, and this is a very cool thing to do, we can copy some of the code that we already have made and then just change it slightly into what we want it to do. Instead of finding all the same blocks, you can simply just copy some of your code. I think this is very good and cool, and it saves you a lot of time. So right click with your mouse, you should have this menu, and you can choose duplicate, the first option. And you should have the same blocks of code. So I don't want to use the second one here, the create clone, so I'm gonna remove that. I'm just gonna use the second one here, change number. And since I don't want the exact same, I just want to change it up slightly with the second one that I just copied. I want to change that into high score. So now we're changing high score by counter. And if this works as I want it to, is that it's gonna be all the points that we have earned throughout the game. It's gonna have that in the high score field. And let's see if it works. Testing it here. So we start at 0 points, our counter is 1, and our high score is at 0. So let's see. You can see the high score goes up with so here in the beginning, number and high score will be the same numbers. But if I go up to 50 and buy an upgrade, here we go. Click the upgrade. You can now see my number went down because I spent some points on buying this upgrade. And my counter went up, so now I'm getting points double as fast. But the high score stays the same. And this will just keep going and show like the total amount of points that we have reached while playing the game. So if I keep playing, you can see this one keeps going up. And I can buy another upgrade and then see how many points we can get. Seems to be working. And then we can just keep playing and oh. And the banana, as we added it to the game, will increase our counter by 1 each time we buy it. We will then add more upgrades throughout the game that will cost more points, but it will also give you more to the counter. So let's say we have a cake maybe, but this cake will cost you like 1,000 points. But it will also change your counter to the double of what it is. So it will go from 6 points to 12 points per click. Something like that is something we could add. And my idea is that I'll have all the upgrades here on the bottom of the screen, and then all the points here on the top. You can, if you like, move these numbers around by simply just dragging them. You can also change the looks of them if you right click and then choose one of the 3 options here. You can have it to be a large number, or you can have it with a text like we have here. And but I like the one with the text because then I know what it's for. But you can also hide the numbers if you don't want them to be there. And to hide them, you go into variables here on the left and simply uncheck the boxes here. You can see they appear and disappear. So I think I'm gonna have my points here on the left, my high score in the center, and actually I want the high score to just be a large number because I know what this is for, and then my counter here on the right. Something like this. I think this looks pretty cool. So I think that's it for today. We made some changes to the code we made last time. I think we made it a lot better. We also managed to add an upgrade to the game, and we added 2 more variables to the game. And we will be working a lot more with these variables because these are super important when it comes to coding, and you will be able to use them for a lot with future games that we are working on. So make sure that you also save the game, and I'm gonna also do that now. You simply go up to the file here on the top left, click save to your computer, and then give it a name here on the file name. Mine is called Balloon Clicker. You can name it whatever. I can also give it my name, and then press save here on the bottom right. And then your game is saved for the next time, so we can continue from where we left off. The current version of the game will also be in or later today will be in the description below, so you can get the current version and work from that from next time if that's something you would like. But that's it for today. I hope you liked it. We will continue on this game and make more awesome stuff, more upgrades, more animations next time, and make it like more visually cool, and maybe some sounds. That could also be quite cool. But guys, that's it for today. I hope to see you next time. We will be on Discord for the next half hour. If you should have any questions, jump in and ask, or write in the chat. We will be happy to help you. So I will see you next time.